Should we start?
Yes, sir, we can start the session now.
Okay. Would you be giving an introductory thing, or should I start?
Yes, you can start. We already shared the profile of yours with
Okay.
the participants.
Okay, fine. So, good afternoon, team. It's very difficult this afternoon after having lunch and without even looking at the trainer, looking at the screen, listening to a lecture is going to be a tough time. Those from Angola may be in the forenoon period, but those are in the East African side, they are in the post lesson lunch session. It's going to be a tough time. Of course, we will try to keep you engaged in these 120 minutes. We will try as much as possible that we will get to do. And as you have seen, would have seen my profile. And so this is what it is all about. A small thing. Um, I have been associated with operational excellence since 1995. It's almost 25, 26 years I have been practicing this now. Still learning a lot. So, so let us get on to this. Why Kaizen? At the first thing, what do we mean by Kaizen? And then why we have to practice Kaizen? This is most important because before starting any journey, the first thing that we need to ask is why we have to do that. If we do not know what is our goal, it is very difficult to reach there. Whenever you get into a taxi, the first question the driver asks you, where do you want to go? So if we do not know where you want, every road is our road. Similarly, there are lots of organizations who are there in the business, and of course, all of them are for making money, and everybody does make money. But there has to be some purpose for any organization so that the organization can excel in whatever that they do. And when we say a purpose, the purpose had to be achieved only by one certain way. And that one certain way is what we also call it as Kaizen. There has been a very modern management mantra that we always say, a slogan, a trademark slogan by Shiv Keda. He used to always say, winners don't do different things. Winners do things differently. So doing things differently is nothing but Kaizen. Kaizen is not a separate task that we are all doing. Please understand that Kaizen is not an additional task or it's not a separate task. Kaizen is all about our same routine task or activities, but we are doing it in a different manner or in a different perspective. Because if we keep on doing the same activities in the same manner which we have been doing for all these years, if we are lucky, we will get same results. So if we have to get a different result or an improved result, we cannot be doing what we have done yesterday. We have to be something different today, something improved today. Remember, we are all living in the world of exponential changes. When we say changes, it's exponential changes. Whatever the students study in their first year of their graduation becomes obsolete by the time they complete their graduation. That is the exponential changes that we are going through. Under such circumstances, we cannot have the same way of working for years together and expect a progressive results. We have to be different. We have to be improving ourselves every day. There are only two stages. Either we are improving or we are deteriorating. There is no in between stage in between these two. So if we are not improving, that means we are deteriorating. We are not improving means we are deteriorating. There is no such thing called as we are stagnant. As we all see here, Kai and Zen are the two, it's a combination of these two words, what we call it as Kaizen. And Kai means change, Zen means good. So Kai, that is a change happening for good, is what we call it as Kaizen. Change is of two types. One, the change is happening for good. We call it as development, we call it as improvement. And there is another change is called as the change happening for bad. We call it as deterioration. Obviously, none of us would prefer the deterioration. We would all prefer a change that is happening for good. Invariably, each of us would like to change, would like change. But the irony is, when people like change, they want change, but they do not want to change. That is also another irony. Everybody wants change, but they do not want to change. That is a problem. When we say Kaizen happening for good, that is changing for good, change means what? Change means a shift of a state from one state to another. A shift of one state to another. And obviously, it is always happening for betterment, or it is always happening for good. If you could see here the symbol, this is how Kaizen is written in the kanji script. You can see these marks. These are the whiplash marks. This cross indicates somebody whipping himself. So on his back, when you lash with whip on your back by yourself, you can have the whiplash marks like this on your back. Why I have to whip myself? Because in olden days, what happened in China, maybe even in India also, when we say change, that means the evil spirit inside that particular body or the process have to go, and something good has to come. That is what we call it as a change or a shift in the state. If some good thing has to come in, some bad has to go out. So if the bad has to go out, they used to take the victim to the temple, and in front of the god, they used to give whips so that the evil spirit or the bad spirit inside the body goes out and good spirit comes in. So this is one way. But the other thing is, change doesn't happen so easily. People resist change because people do not want to move out of their comfort zone. Because when I'm saying change, that means I have to do something different. I'm happy with what I'm doing right now, because when I want to do something different, I have to put some additional efforts. I have to consume more energy. So why should I do one thing? I have to work hard. I have to put additional efforts. I'm comfortable now doing what I'm getting it. So I have to change. Second thing is, what if my additional efforts are put and I do not get the result? That means the fear of failure. People resist change because the fear of failure. What will happen? What will happen if the entire thing already set, preset, is getting collapsed? Then I will get additional work. I will be cursed, I will be scolded, I will be fired, I may not know. Fear of failure. And when we want to do things in a different manner, we want to explain people things. That means we need to share. We need to share information. We need to share the data. We need to share some power. We need to share something. So people do not want to share. They feel their importance is getting lost just because they want to share something. So people resist change because they have the fear of sharing. They do not want to come out of their comfort zone. They do not want to fail, or the fear of failure, the fear of sharing, or fear of unknown. All of these resist people to change. So they are in a deep slumber, I would say. So to wake oneself From the slumber, one has to give this whiplash. Please remember, change never comes from external, it never comes from outside. It is an internal factor. Change always has to happen from inside. If it has to happen from inside, the conscious has to be shaken up, and which will happen only through by the whiplash mark. And this one, if you see here, it is an aerial view. It's a pictorial thing, kanji script. Aerial view. It looks like a guillotine machine chopping the head of a lamb in front of the god. They are sacrificing a life so that God get pleased and He gives us all good things. What do I need to sacrifice? As I said just now, the fear of failure, the fear of unknown, the fear of sharing, the fear of being in the comfort zone, all of these we need to sacrifice if we have to change. Just by giving whiplash marks, I'm not going to change, but I have to sacrifice these things which we were discussing. So when I give a whiplash and I'm willing to sacrifice my fear of failure, sacrifice my fear of unknown, sacrifice my fear of sharing, sacrificing my comfort zone, then only change will happen. And that change will be good, or what we call it as Kaizen. So Kaizen means change for good, involving everyone. It's not that only a certain people doing Kaizen within an organization. Then it is not Kaizen. Then it is not called as improvement. I hope we all do exercise. When we do exercise, we don't do exercise only for one arm. No, I'm going to do exercise only for my right arm. I am not caring about my left arm. No, I'm not going to do that. We never say like that. When we do an exercise, we do exercise for the whole body. So in an organization, from the gate man to the chairman of the organization, everybody should get involved in Kaizen. That means doing things differently. They have to bring the change for good. So everybody in the organization has to get involved in Kaizen, and it should happen every day, not only on selected days, only when consultant comes. No, it is not going to happen. The consultant comes once in 6 weeks for 5 days or something like that. Sometimes it's even longer. Under such circumstances, if the change for good is not happening on a daily basis, it will fail. I hope we all brush our teeth every morning when we get up, and before even going to sleep, some guys brush twice, some guys brush thrice. We cannot say no, I will brush once a week for 30 minutes rather than doing 5 minutes of brushing every day. Only on Sundays I will do 30 minutes of brushing. If we take a decision like that, will it work? No. Even our own spouses would come near to us. Same way, Kaizen is not like that. No, okay, for 6 weeks I did not do. When the consultant comes, I will work for all the 8 hours into Kaizen. So 40 hours of Kaizen in 1 week is enough for me for the next 40 days. No, then it is not Kaizen. So Kaizen has to happen, involving everybody, happening every day and happening everywhere. Oh, Kaizen is only for manufacturing, not for me. I am from administration. I am from finance team. No, it is not for us. Then we are cheating ourselves. Kaizen has to happen everywhere. Every function has to involve in Git Kaizen. From sales, we can do Kaizen. How can we do Kaizen in sales? How can we do Kaizen in marketing? How can I do Kaizen in distribution and logistics? How can I do Kaizen in sourcing? How can I do Kaizen in my human resource? Every function has got scope. Because Kaizen is what? Kaizen is all about doing things differently. Kaizen is all about bringing change for the betterment. So Kaizen can be adapted in every process that we do. In a nutshell, Kaizen means seeking perfection in all the processes we do. We always look for perfection. And this perfection is a moving goalpost. What was perfection today is no longer a perfection tomorrow. So this perfection we have to keep on seeking, seeking, seeking. So in this journey of practicing Kaizen, we always keep on seeking the perfection. We may not achieve perfection, but we know that at one fine morning we may achieve excellence. So the perennial quest for seeking perfection, the perennial pursuit for perfection in all the processes we do is what we call it as Kaizen. So, if I have to seek perfection in all the processes, from hiring to firing, every process, a visitor getting an entry into the factory is a process. Weeding is a process in the forms. And then invoicing is a process. So every process should be sought for perfection, and that can happen only through Kaizen, or what we call it as Kaizen is all about seeking perfection in all the processes. I always look for perfection. That is what we say. So why we have to seek perfection? After all, I'm doing business. I'm doing good. I'm already making money. Why I have to do Kaizen? I always mention this. Kaizen is a jogging shoe. When I say Kaizen is a jogging shoe, you must be very puzzled. What do you mean by jogging shoe? Let me tell you a small story. It happened that in US every year there used to be an Associate of Manufacturing Excellence. There used to be a conclave. Every year it used to happen in the time of October, November. And the best Kaizen practicing companies or the Kaizen managers are rewarded, and they're recognized and rewarded. And it happened once that an American and a Japanese Kaizen managers were declared the best, and they were rewarded. And what the reward is, they can go to Kenya, their Masai Mara, their safaris, and they have got the license to kill the big five. Masai Mara is a marshland forest. For those who are not familiar with Kenya, maybe knowing it, those who are watching National Geographical Channel Animal Planet must be knowing it. It's a marshland forest, not so dense, yellowish thing, and it's a very nice, serene thing that we need to go and see. Nice place. And these two gentlemen went on it and going for a big five, or the big five animals are lion, cheetah, buffalo, elephant, and rhino. These are the big fives, and they had a license to kill these big five. And they, as they entered into Masai Mara forest, the curiosity kills the cat, you know. So they started shooting all the animals that they came through, whether it was a gazelle or it's a hyena or it's even a rabbit. Anything that came through, they went on shooting them because they got the license. And very soon they ran out of the bullets. Then the Japanese said, "Oh, pity, we ran out of the bullets and we have got only 1 day left now. We did not kill a single of the big five." Then the Americans said, "Don't worry, buddy, we have got 1 more day, and tomorrow we are not going to shoot any other thing, but only the big five we will be targeting. Let's go home now. Let's go back to the tent, take rest, and come back fresh tomorrow." So they were just walking back towards the tent, and suddenly they heard a roar behind them. And then they turned around and saw a lion sitting. So, what would you be doing if you see a lion behind you? And it is obvious, run for your life. And both of these gentlemen started running like hell. They ran like hell, and after some time, the Japanese sat on a rock, took out his backpack, and then he opened the zip and took out these jogging shoes. The American got pissed off. Hey, buddy, what are you doing? He said, no, 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 I'm just changing into my jogging shoes. So what do you mean? Just by changing into jogging shoes, are you going to run faster than the line? The Japanese said, I do not know, but I can run faster than you. That's it. The moment the lion catches you, I'm safe. That means the jogging shoe keeps me one pace ahead of my competitor. And Kaizen is that jogging shoe that keeps you one pace ahead of your competitor in the business scenario. Please remember, Kaizen is because in this level playing field where everything is open book in business, unless we do something different, we cannot create a barrier from our competitor. And doing this thing different is nothing but Kaizen. I hope I made it clear. And this is the reason we have to practice Kaizen. We are living in the world of exponential changes, and doing things differently every day is the need of the hour. And to do this, Kaizen is very, very essential. So when we say that, what is this Kaizen? Because many people have a paradigm, the prejudice. When we say Kaizen, everybody thinks of suggestion scheme. Kaizen is totally different from suggestion scheme. We need to understand this first. Kaizen is a big umbrella under which too many operational excellence initiatives comes into this. And as I said, we are all in the process of seeking perfection. We are in the journey of seeking perfection in all the processes we do. And this journey is what we call it as an operational excellence journey. And we need to have a certain way of doing things, even for Kaizen practicing. Kaizen is like swimming. You may read n number of books on swimming, but unless you jump into water, you can never learn swimming. Same way, Kaizen, you may read n number of books, you may attend many seminars, webinars, whatever you call it, but unless you practice it, you will never learn Kaizen. Yes, knowledge by attending the training programs, by attending these webinars, seminars, yes, we get the knowledge, but when it comes to practice, it's all up to us. So, how a Kaizen model has to be first created so that everyone in the organization can be involved and they can practice Kaizen on an everyday basis, and thus every function in the organization start practicing Kaizen. That means change for good or improvement that keeps happening, which will really benefit the organization. So we need to have a business system. Every organization has got a business system. We see, yes, we are there in the business. We have been doing in this business for 20 years, 25 years. Some may be doing it for 100 years also. But what is the purpose? The purpose of Kaizen business system is to create a long-term value. It's not about a short-term gain, but a long-term value for customers, for shareholders, and for employees. When we say shareholders, we call it stakeholders. So all the three are considered, and we do not work for short-term gains. It's all about a long-term value. We create value for my customers, for my stakeholders, for my employees, and this long-term value is what Kaizen is always looking for. Because if I work towards creating this long-term value, I know that growth will automatically come in. Growth, every business organization is looking for growth. When we say growth, growth is of two types. One is vertical growth and other one is horizontal growth. Both types of growth have to be there. And when we say growth, growth will happen only when you have happy customers who can be kept happy by providing the right quality. And also D stands for delivery, and delivery comes by flow efficiency. Remember, customer buys only when he wants and only in the quantity he wants and in the quality he demands. There is no thing called no, I keep on giving. We cannot play gamble, hoping that one day my customer will buy and keeping it. No, it is never like that. Just because we have got enough inventory, we cannot push things around down the throat. No, it will never happen there. Customers will buy only when they want, in the quantity they want. They will never buy anything extra. So, if I have to give them whatever they wanted, wherever they wanted, in how much soever quantity they wanted, I need to maintain a flow efficiency. That means that only I can give him the thing. So when I give him delivery and quality, I get growth. So yes, growth is there, but what about the C? C means cost part. How to work on my cost? The biggest thing everybody does today is what? Cut cost. Most wrong thing that people do. Cut cost at any cost. I don't mind spending millions and I will prove that I'm a poor man. C stands for cost. Cost means resource efficiency. How am I effectively and efficiently utilizing my resources to produce qualitative parts or services in the quantity my customer wanted, in the quality he demanded, and whenever he wanted, wherever he wanted. So that comes by resource efficiency. And all of these three will happen only by involving your employees. So engage your employees and try to provide them respect for people. Why people should be motivated to work in our organization? Is there a career growth? Is there a personal growth? Is there a capability development happening in my organization? Me as a person, am I growing here? Most of the time, people do not quit their jobs, they quit their managers or they quit their companies. So, respect for people is very, very important because these are the people who are building the processes, and these are the processes that are going to get us the results. So, respect for people is very, very important. That is what we call it as M, or what we call it as morale. So, growth, quality, cost, delivery, and morale all are important. When we do this and when we share that with my suppliers and with my customers, the excellence is achieved. That is what we always say, seeking perfection in all the processes that we have been doing. Okay, now how to build this? How to get quality? How to get flow efficiency? How to get resource efficiency? For that, you need to have the operational excellence tools on one side, and on the other side, you need to have the growth tools. Because the operational excellence tools, their primary focus is on cost. They cannot improve sales, whereas growth tools, their primary focus is on improving the sales, while the secondary is on cost. So let us see what we need to do. We need to do flow improvement. So when we talk about perfection, I was telling about seeking perfection, seeking perfection. What do we mean by perfect? How do we define a process is perfect? So when a process is more valuable, when a process is valuable, what do we mean by valuable? That means there are no waste activities in that process. I am not doing any unnecessary activities in the process, and I am doing only those valuable processes for which my customer will pay. So if my process is valuable, that means a waste-free processes, that is what we call it as a flow improvement. Because when I remove all my non-value adding activities, my speed of delivery improves. So does it make the process perfect? No, let us wait. My process should always be available. When I say available, my equipment or my resources, whenever I wanted, they should be available without any hindrance. For that, productive maintenance is what the key. It ensures that my resources are made available whenever my customer wants, whenever my process demands. So, is that enough? No. Whatever I do, my processor should be capable. When I say capable, it means defect free. When it is valuable, waste free. When it is available, it is breakdown free. When it is capable, it is defect free. Anything that I do, I am doing it right at first time. No defects, no rework, no rejects, no scraps, nothing happening there. So that comes only by quality improvement. And then whatever I do have adequate, no shortages, no surpluses. Whatever I have, the processes, the resources, everything is adequate. We call it as theory of constraints, or in other words, service improvement. Whenever they wanted, service is provided on time. 95% service factor or 97% service factor. Service improvement, adequate. And then sourcing and suppliers. I'm not going to stash, I'm not going to hoard, I'm not going to say no shortage or something like that. All are built into this. So, when a process is valuable without waste, when a process is available without breakdowns, when a process is capable without defects, when a process is adequate without any constraints, then that process is termed as a perfect process. And remember, as I said earlier, this perfect goal post is a moving thing. So whatever we thought it is okay today is not okay tomorrow. So we need to keep on working on it. And all of these tools or initiatives will help me in achieving operational excellence, which will primarily reduce my cost and indirectly increase my sales. So what do we do in the growth strategy? Every organization should have a strategy. There has to be some sort of a planning for next 5 years for the organization. 5 years down the line, how my customers would treat what as a value. Will I be able to provide it them? Am I fully equipped for it? Am I getting prepared for it? Are they going to get changed? Is it because we are living in the world of exponential changes? So I need to plan for 5 years from now, 3 years from now. Strategy doesn't mean 1 year old strategy. Strategy should be always for 5 years, and then you break down that 5 years into annual strategies, planning and deployment. That is what we say. So I plan for my future and align all my Kaizen initiatives to this plan, this goals, vision, mission, and values. Setting it up. Marketing and sales. How am I going to position my products, my services? How am I going to provide the experience, the specific results? How am I going to do this? It's not only about sales, it's challenger selling. We call it as challenger selling. It's not a simple selling product. Challenger selling, marketing and sales. How am I going to do Kaizen in marketing and sales? And innovation, new products. People want something new all the time. Somebody is talking of Industry 4, somebody is talking of Manufacturing 5. So are we getting geared up for that? Are we good enough doing innovations? And even if I innovate, my time to market is very, very important. Most of the time, we launch a product pretty late that we are not able to align ourselves. The product cost increases because we do not launch the product on the right date to kill the premium. So, accelerated product development, are we doing it? Are we really launching? The time to market a new product is very, very crucial. Are we achieving it? And then comes environmental, lean and green. It's not only about lean, it's all about green. What are we giving back to Mother Earth? Renewable energy. How long are we going to still bank on the government supply of electricity? The sun sheds. How can I use that? The wind is there. Can I use that? Can I recycle my water? Can I conserve my water? Is there something called a circular economy? Lean is all about eliminating waste, and circular economy is all about creating value from the waste. Can I create something from that? How to create value from the waste? Circular economy, can we do that? Because we have consumed enough resources that today we are finding it very difficult, and Mother Earth is being abused to the extreme. So we need to give it to her back something on. So all of these forms the growth strategy, and this growth and QCD balanced on what we call it as the continuous improvement initiative. To get this, we need to have a paradigm of changing capability. We should be always ready for change. We should be anticipating change. We should be adapting the change. And all this can happen only when we develop ourselves through the Kaizen change model, which is all built on one foundation, what we call it as Kaizen foundations. So the entire structure of this Kaizen business system is built on what? The long-term value for the organization, for the employee, for the stakeholders, for the customers, that is growth, quality, cost, and delivery, achieved through quality QCD initiatives and growth initiatives. These are all built on Kaizen change model and Kaizen foundations. So, as I said, vision, mission, and values. Because Kaizen is not a tool that I gave you and you started go abra and dabra, you started working. No, it's not going to happen like that. Kaizen is all about culture. Culture is an abstract. It doesn't have a physical form. You go to Tusky, Patia, Kilo, Moja culture, you can never get it. Culture is not a pre-programmed thing. It is always learned. Nobody feeds into somebody's program. Yes, I have uploaded the culture program. From tomorrow onwards, you will be wearing the culture of so and so company. Come on. No, it is not going to happen like that. People have to learn it. And culture is not a single person. It's not about an individual. It's all about shared. The collective habits, I'm sorry, the collective habits of all the employees working in the organization forms the culture of the organization. The collective habits of the people in a tribe make the culture for that particular tribe. It could be for a group or a tribe or a nation or a country, whatever you call it. And it is all comes from behavior, and behavior are driven by the principles that are fed into what we call it as rules and regulations in the organizations, or what we call it as a principle. Principle is that thing that drives, given an option, what drives to choose the right thing is always driven, is fed by principle. We are all taught telling lies is a sin. So we don't say lie. But one fine morning, your dad gets a call from his boss and he gives his mobile to you, say that, tell that Papa is not at home, he has forgotten his mobile. Now you say, oh, till yesterday, my dad was saying that I'm not supposed to say lies, but he's now asking me to say lie. That means I can say lies at times. So he's learned something. Now he's unlearning something and he's relearning something. Learning, unlearning, and relearning, these are the three vital components for building a culture, because in this world, in this universe today, if we cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn, we are the modern day illiterates. So, the principles have to be imbibed among us to build a Kaizen habit or a Kaizen culture. So, what is it? Create value for your customer. Whatever you do, you create a value for your customer. You are not selling products. Is this something beyond that? You are trying to give them an experience, give them the value. That should be our first thing. Having created a value, this value should keep on flowing. It should never get stagnant. It should never get stopped in between. It should be free flowing, just like a French ballet happening. It should be free flowing. And where it should get flow, it should be flowing on gemba. Gemba is again a two combination of Japanese words, game plus ba. Game ba means a raised podium. Just as a raised podium attracts everybody's attention, Gemba attracts attention because this is where problems are solved, this is where values are added, or in other words, Gemba also means workplace. So, in the workplace, the flow should happen. The flow should be Gemba oriented. That means my customer wanted it, it should go in this fashion, my material should flow from here to here. On the contradicting direction, the information should flow. And who facilitates this flow? It is the people who are facilitating this flow. So empower them, engage them, educate them so that they can try out something new and come something with some improved things. And you get different results. And these are the people who are going to build a process that is systematic, scientific, and transparent enough. So all gives the right result. So these are the five principles that we need to all are interlinked with each other. I'm creating a value for my customer, and this value should keep on flowing without any hurdle. And this should flow on the game bar, and on the game bar where people are empowered so that they can try something different and get the best out of the processes, which will give me results. So, in short, these are the five principles. If we imbibe, the Kaizen culture will start creeping in within the organization. I hope I'm not going fast. So, if anything is Madhubaran San is there, you can type your question and answer on your chat column so that when we get the time, we can answer you. Now, let us get into the details of these principles again. When I say customer value, don't assume yourself. Go talk to the customer. His voice is very, very important. It's not about the master's voice. The master is customer here. It is the voice of the customer is very, very important. And whatever they say, it is their sales is all about what? Identifying the requirement of customer and meeting those requirements with whatever the wherewithal available with us. So quality becomes the first foremost thing. Whatever I give it to my customer, it should be qualitative. That is what we are saying, experience. It's not the quantity, that quality is what matters. And when we say market in, that means those who are adding the value, those who are making the products should be aware of the customer's requirement. And when we say customer, it is not only external customer, My internal processes, my downstream process is my customer. My next process is my, if I am in the production, my stores, finished goods stores is my customer. If I am in the sales, my customer is in the shop floor. So every process is connected like this. So we have a supplier and a customer within the organization. If we are in the farms, the post-harvest team is the customer for the field team. The cold storage team is the customer for the post-harvest team. Like that, the chain goes in. The upstream process or the previous process is the supplier. The downstream process or the next process is my customer. So when I say next operation is customer, and then when I talk about my customer's requirement, I'm talking about the requirement of my next processes. Because if I take care of my next process or my next customer, internal customer, my external customer will be automatically taken care of. So day in and day out, what I will do, I will keep on working upon myself so that to give my customer, even if he's internal customer, the best of the experience. How can I please him? How can I make him delight, attract, engage, delight? This is what we need to do. So when we say customer value, these are the things that we need to consider. And what is supposed to flow there? It's all about total system organization. When we say total system organization, that's what we are talking about. Everyone, everywhere, every day. That is what we call it as a total. When I optimize for the entire organization, not only for certain pockets. It is always end to end process. That means from my supplier to my customer. Everywhere the chain is getting connected. Nowhere it is getting disengaged. So the flow of the processes or the material or the information has to happen from end to end, from supplier to customer, from customer, because the information starts flowing from customer to supplier, and the material starts flowing from supplier to customer, and both of these has to happen in contradicting directions. Then only we will get the third flow, which is we call it as a cash flow. If it doesn't happen, you won't get the cash flow. So when I make these processes flow without any hurdles, it has to be stable. Irrespective of the variations in the market, I need to have the wave breakers, just as in the harbors, to have the ships without rocking, they have the breakers. Similar to that, we need to have wave breakers within our organization so that whatever the changes that happens in the market, my processes are going stable within the organization. And I will be producing only when a customer consumes something from my, it's all replenishment model. He consumes, then I replenish. It is not that I am not going to produce based on my forecast. Yes, forecast is required to have a planning, but for production, forecast is not required. To plan your raw material, to plan your packing material, forecast is essential. But to produce, it is only consumption. Only when a pull at the customer demand. Only when your customer consumes it, give it to him. Don't try to push it down the throat. Even at our home, our mother does it. Only when we consume, she gives the next lot. She never shows it. And if I have to have these three MUs, what we call it as a Muda, Mura, and Muri, we will be seeing this Muda and Mura, Muri in the next session. But these three MUs should be eliminated or minimized in our processes. Now, after having done all of these in the Gemba, what I'm saying, the Gemba should be self-explanatory. As I walk along, I should be knowing what's happening in the Gemba. I talk about the visual thing. Everything tells me this is the demand, this is where I am, this is what I have to do, this is what the days are left, I am at the right path, we are all doing good. or no, we have to bug up, we have to speed up, this is where we are lacking, please do this. The Gemba or the workplace should be telling me what is happening there, whether it is happening good or bad, are we in the right track or not, all those things. And then leaders cannot sit in the game. More unfortunately, most of the managers restrict themselves to the cabins. They should go down. Why? Because otherwise, we are forced to believe what our supervisors say, and supervisors can always hide facts. Things are pushed under the carpet, facts are hidden, data are fudged. To avoid this, leaders have to be on the game bar to get the first hand information. And everybody in the organization should start treating this. What is a problem? A problem is the deviation from the expectation. If I am in Westlands of Nairobi, from Westlands of Nairobi, I have to reach the Nairobi airport in 45 minutes. This is my expectation. But those who are familiar to the Nairobi traffic knows it can't happen in 45 minutes. Sometimes it takes 4 hours also. So my expectation is not met. That means it is a problem. There is a problem. That's why my expectations are not met. And slowly my expectation should be become my standards. So whenever there is a deviation from a standard, we all should be treating that as a problem. What do we do in our daily Kaizen? We say that this is my target. I'm supposed to produce this much of parts today. I have produced only this much of parts. The gap between my desired level and the actual level is what we call it as an abnormality. And this abnormality is nothing but the problem. And this problem is the concern that I am going to write in the 3C sheet. I'm supposed to achieve this, I did not achieve it. So this is a concern, and this is the problem, and this is what we call it as abnormality. So problems are deviations from the standards. And these problems should not be allowed to get accrued or accumulated. We need to keep solving the problem. That's why we say the employees have to be engaged, educated, and empowered. So the employees themselves should come together and should not wait for the supervisor to give them instruction on how to solve a problem. Let them come together. That is why we say 3C problem solving. It's a simple way of solving. What is a concern? There's a gap between desired state and the actual state. That is a concern. And every concern has got a cause. And then every cause has got a countermeasures. So work on the 3Cs: concern, cause, countermeasures. So work on these root causes, solve the problem, and then keep on. So when we keep on doing this, it becomes your standard. And when you standardize these processes, improvements keep happening. So what do we do to do that? So we need to have the KPIs of the organization cascaded to every function or every tier. It's not about that all my daily initiatives should be always contributing to my company's goals. It could be a 5-year goal or it could be an annual goal. So we have to break down our annual goal into monthly goal to weekly goal to daily goal to hourly goal, and start chasing these hourly goal. Align your teams towards the goal. And as a leader, we need to lead by example. Not only that, a leader is not the one who is going to have more followers. Leaders is the one who create more leaders. So develop people as leaders, coach them. What was the last time that we have coached somebody? And encourage people not to blame each other. Who is not a problem? What is a problem? Nobody comes to the organization thinking that today I will make so many defects. Nobody does it intentionally. So what went wrong rather than who did wrong? That's how the team is getting developed. And this engaged and empowered team will always build the best of the processes. And these processes, as I said, it has to be a long-term thinking. Always focuses on the processes, not on the results. See, I always say that I have a tummy. Every morning I get up and keep on measuring my tummy. That is, I'm chasing my result. Will it go down? It will never go down. What I need to do, I need to do exercises, I need to do abs, carbohydrates reduction, all sort of, these are all the processes. So focus on the processes, the results will follow. And when we say this, every process should be quantified and we need to speak with data. We should know yesterday the rejection was more. How much more is more? For few, 1% is more, for few, 10% is more. So let us all speak with data, the numbers. PDCA, you all know, plan, do, check, act. But what do we end up doing? We do plan, discuss, confuse, abandon. That's what we do. And this has got some twin brother, SDCA, standardize, do, check, and act. But what do we do, sir? Don't change anything. So PDCA and SDCA has to keep on happening. The cycles have to be fast enough so that improvement keeps happening. And we need to reflect, because I always say that what do we learn from history is we do not learn from history. And when we do not learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. So reflect on what has happened, what went right, what went wrong, what can I learn from it, what I need to do, where I have to change, reflect, learn, improve. That's how we bring in the right processes. So these are the principles that we need to build in so that we can imbibe the Kaizen culture. So all of these change management model, everything that all come from the experiential learning only. Over all these 20 years and 25 years of Kaizen practices from time and again with various locations, we evolved with some change management model. What is it? So as we say, the strategy has to be there because we need to achieve our business goals. It could be for 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, an annual goal. Because my business strategy planning should get aligned with my Kaizen change model. Because Kaizen is working towards north and your goals are towards south, it will never work. So the CEO, the directors, all the top management come together, plan and align the strategies, organization strategy with the change management model. So to begin with, we call it as breakthrough Kaizen. We What do we do? We cascade the KPIs, and as we keep on cascading the KPIs, and at one particular point, the KPIs will stop at some actions. And these are the actions that give us these projects. By doing this, I'm going to get this number. That is what we call it as breakthrough Kaizen. And it has got 4 steps: launch the project, execute the project, close the project, and deploy it horizontally. This follows the PDCA principle. Why I have to do this? Because if I have to transform the processes, I have to do this. We will see in detail of each of these in the coming time now. The next one is daily Kaizen. We were talking about engaging, educating, and empowering the employees. Taichi Ono-san said that unable to see a problem is the biggest problem. If we ignore the problem, we start to live with the problem. For all those from Kenya, I always say, Pekagadi Kando, Towaki Kidogo, these we ignored all of these, and that's why this has become today we don't consider them as a problem. We have started living with the problems. Throughout the world, the prejudice is the politicians are corrupt. Why? Because we allowed them to be corrupt, and today it doesn't look like a problem for us. So we need to start seeing the problems. What is a problem? First, we will teach our value adders to see what is a problem. Problem is deviation from the standard. So what is a standard? They should know that. So the first step is to make them see the problems. Why I'm doing it? If I have to build a culture, I have to change the behaviors. I have to change the habits. For changing the habits, I have to change the behaviors. If I have to change the behaviors, I have to change the routines, and the routines will be changed through this daily Kaizen. So first step is making them aware of what a problem is. Now that they know how to see a problem, the next step is they should know how to solve a problem. We cannot allow the problem to be there. Now I'm bleeding. I cannot say, okay, I will take care of it tomorrow. No, we will never do that. We immediately try to stop it. So solve the problem. Now that to solve a problem, we did something improvement. So try to sustain that improvement so that the problem doesn't recur. All these three are reactive in nature. Now, the fourth step is anticipate and work proactively. These are the four steps that we have to coach our team to come through. When we do this, we can build a culture of Kaizen or a culture of sustenance. Why we have to do this? Because the Kaizen strategy requires a culture to be built in. So this is for the workers. And what for the leaders? The leaders have to manage the change. What's going to be in the next 5 years? How the market would change, how the customers would change, how the scenario would change, how the environment would change, how the processes will change. So we need to manage those changes. First thing is we should learn to change. After learning to change, we should start leading the change, and then we should control the change, and then we steer the change or direct the change. So the leaders have to focus more on the change part, not on the daily activities. They have to look for the future and work on the change part of it. And all of these are supported by governance team who are going to support the entire transformation process. We are in the transforming processes from a traditional way to the Kaizen way of doing things. So there are four levels. Infant level, which we call it as a starting level, developing level, maturing level, and then autonomous, automatically, autopilot mode. That's what. So these are the four Kaizens that we need to adopt as a Kaizen change model, which we are now going to see. Now, breakthrough Kaizen. The goal is what? Achieving breakthrough business results. Something big ticket. It's not about small changes, a big ticket improvement by improving the processes which can give me the results as decided in the strategy. So work on those things. How to do that? It's not that if I'm the expert in one particular process, I will be doing it. It should be always a cross-functional team because a third eye always gives you a different view of looking at things. For every mother, her child is the best in the world. A mother can never find fault with their kids. Same way, for every Gimba owner, his processes are the perfect. So he can never find fault with his processes. That is the reason we need to have a cross-functional team so that others can identify what is wrong with the process, how can they correct the processes. So form a cross-functional team and select the improvement project areas. How? The four stage. First, launch, and then execute, close, deploy horizontally. How? From the plant manager level, it should go down to every manager, there, every function it should go. So what do we say in launch? I select a project, I form team, a cross-functional team, and then I train the team on what to do, how we have to collect data, what data needs to be collected, what is the target, how to find the target, all those things. And then set up a board, a visual board to see how we are progressing. Then comes the execution of this, a 9-step methodology that we follow. Define the scope for the project. Then, what are the hurdles? Who is going to do? What are the milestones? What are the timelines? Then, find out the current states. Where are we now and where we have to go? Current state and target state identify. Now, what is the gap between these two and why there are gaps? Can we analyze it? The team should come together and analyze it. After analyzing it, they create some action plan. These are the causes, these are the countermeasures. This guy will implement it, this guy will implement this on this date and this date. And then they create some plan, validation of it, and then they check the results. Once it is proved positive, then create the standards and then do a reflection. What went right? What went wrong? How can we improve ourselves? Now that this 9-step is finished, now go to hand it over to the natural teams, or what we call it as the daily Kaizen teams. Calculate the benefits, create a case study, and then say that are we really, these benefits are getting reaped day in out, day out? And then once it is successful, deploy it horizontally across the organization wherever it is applicable. Daily Kaizen. Daily Kaizen is for everybody across every tiers. We have the bottommost tier as tier 1, tier 2, and it goes up to 6 in some organization. It may end up in 4 also. So the number of tiers doesn't matter, but the value adders are here. Sometimes they go up to here also. So this is where they do every day. All of these teams come together and meet and track their progress against the KPIs for the day, for the shift. See, here you see, for the shift, for the line, for the day, it can be hours also. So what do we do in this daily Kaizen? The goal is to create a continual improvement and sustenance culture. That is what we say, to change the Gemba behaviors, to build the culture. How can we develop people who can sustain the improvements? That will be done through this. What are the means? First, develop the competence of the people. Today, they may not have the competency to see the problem or solve the problem. To make them see, to make them solve by addressing the root causes. So let them not wait for the supervisor to come and tell them what they are supposed to do to solve a problem. And they start tracking their KPIs on a frequent basis. How quick? Let us not monitor these progresses once in a month, not once in 15 days or a week or a day. In fact, every shift, if possible, every 4 hours or 2 hours, let them keep tracking what they are supposed to achieve and what have they done and what is the gap, what they are supposed to do so that the gap can be bridged. So keep on monitoring on a frequent basis. The simple example is just like an AC. AC, we set a preset temperature, say 22 degrees, 23 degrees. And whenever it goes beyond certain time, it stops the compressor or it turns on the compressor, makes it cool. And when it goes below the temperature, it stops the compressor, it becomes warm. This cycle keeps on happening. What should be the frequency of measuring? The frequency of measuring is what we call it as a cadence. The time taken to correct the deviation should be equal to the monitoring time. If I take 1 day to solve the deviations from the actual condition and the desired condition, I should be monitoring it every day. So the more the frequent I'm measuring it, small the problem is, so quicker the problems are getting solved. So it is always better to have a shorter frequency to check it. Check reality against the standards, and upon deviation, act quickly, swiftly. How quick are we acting it? The faster we do, smaller the problems are. And create the stand, because why there are problems happen only when there is a deviation in the standards. What are the types of standards? Man standard, machine standard, method standard, and machine material standards. What are man standards? Attendance. If somebody doesn't come, we need to fill in with the same competency levels. So skill matrix is required. A license is required. So skill matrix, license, and attendance become a leave planner, becomes the match standards. If there anything changes here, you will have a problem. Material standards, availability, specifications, safety standards. If anything changes here, we will have problem. Machine standards, speed, feed, pressure, temperature. If anything changes, we get problems. Methods. If anything, there are six types of methods. If any method is changed, all the problem gets changed. So the deviation happens only in these forum. And to minimize the variation, we have to bring in standard work. When we bring in the standard work, the components of standard work are cycle time, takt time, standard sequence of operation, and then standard WIP. So when we do this, the deviations are minimized, so the problems are minimized. This motivates the team members so that they keep on working on this on a day-to-day basis, and the results start coming, achieving it. Now, in each of the stage, there are again few elements that go through it. So what are they? First is level 0, that is preparatory level. Everywhere we have a preparatory level. The preparatory level is all about forming the teams. When we form the teams, every team should have a leader. When we say leader, why we are doing leader? Because we are developing the leaders. And every team should have a leader and a deputy. Not only that, once a week, one of the team member will be accepting the role of the leader and start working towards it. And then there is something called as DILO. You can see here. That means day in the life of. DILO stands for day in the life of. What do we mean by it? Whether do we have enough time to do Kaizen? Because this is a common complaint that we always get. Oh, we are so busy, we don't have time to do Kaizen. And such statements will come from only people who think that Kaizen is a different task. So what do? We map the timing and activities, because time is not in our control. So when time is not in our control, we cannot manage it. But what we can do is we can manage ourselves according to the time. If I have to manage myself according to the time, I need to see where I am wasting my time. So this DILO exercise is nothing but identifying what am I doing in the 8.5 hours whenever I am available in the Gemba. How many of my time is spent on value adding activities, and how many of my time is spent on non-value adding activities. So that is what we do. So that based on this, we create some timetable and give it to them for standard practices, so that people don't blame that or take an excuse that no, I didn't have time to do this sort of thing. So after doing this, now let us come to the first thing. Now every NT stands for natural team. Every natural team should have a KPI, key performance indicator. When we say key performance indicator, it's all about what is expected out of that particular team by the organization for that particular day. It could be numbers, it could be kgs, it could be liters, or it could be anything. This is what is the target, and this is what I have achieved. Sometimes I would have exceeded the target, sometimes I would have not met the target. So identify the KPI. When I say KPI, mean it is not only about the production target, it is also about how much of rejections, it is productivity. Go for the lean targets, that we lean measurements we say. Production in numbers is not the right measure because production in numbers is always decided by the customer. So we always go for productivity. What is the resources deployed? What is the outcome that you have got? When we say productivity, it is not only about the labor productivity, it is about the production per resource deployed. And when we say resources, space is a resource, time is a resource, energy is a resource, labor is a resource. So we need to find out all productivity. That means space productivity, time productivity, energy productivity, labor productivity, and then rejections, down availability of the equipment. All these things can be the KPIs. And once we have this, initiate a daily meeting. Every day, this team should meet at the beginning of the shift for 7 minutes, and there is a standard agenda. There is a board for this, and they will also fill in the 3C, that is concern, cost, countermeasure sheet. They will start doing it. What is this? This board is all about three things. One is about the Gemba, that means the team, who are all in this team, what is the skill matrix, what is the capability development plan, this forms the team. Second comes the Gemba. That means what is the 5S, what is the safety levels over there, where it is located, and then comes the performance. What is expected out of them, what have they done, and then comes the improvement. Why there is a gap, and what am I supposed to do to bridge the gap? These are the improvements. And entire this thing will be captured in a board, and this team will go through this board every day for 7 minutes, not more than that. And it is all done by managing the exceptions. If I have achieved, it will be in green. If I have not achieved, it will be in red. Just as in the traffic lights, if it is green, you keep going. If the graph is green, you don't discuss. If the graph is red, you discuss, identify the abnormality, accountable person, and then go ahead. Don't discuss about how we are going to solve the problem in the meeting. And then you initiate 5S. 5S is not housekeeping initiative. We are going to see this 5S as a separate module. It's not an housekeeping initiative. 5S should drive people to ask questions, 5 whys. 5S is all about making the abnormality glaringly visible. 5S is the DNA for any continuous improvement initiative. So we need to build this DNA among the organization. And along with 5S, safety practices should be done. And then TWI, that stands for training within industries, and JI stands for job instruction. So job instruction for rapid skill development. How quick I can make people skilled in the processes. One is knowledge, other one is skill. Know how and do how. So the do how to train, this is what will be done. Training the trainers will be done, and this is a very effective methodology, the proven technology. We have adapted this, and we have seen that the induction time of a new employee coming down by 50%, and even the refreshment course, when it happens, the expenses on induction and expenses on retraining comes down drastically by the HR department. And from there, you set up a skill center for your own organization, so that anybody who joins have to undergo this skill center and only, because whatever that we read in the uh, colleges and are not going to help us, are going to help us. So you set up a skill center for your own organization. And in level 2, when they were about to solve the problems, teach them the tools. When we say tools, it is not about the mathematical tools that we are talking about. Yes, there are tools, but based on the limitations of the value adders, whichever is required, a commonsensical approach to the problem, a structured problem solving will be taught to them. And mathematical tools will be also told them, but if it is beyond their capabilities, don't pressurize them and don't make them panic. We will do a collaborative problem solving, which we call it as a CDAC. The structured problem solving is the A3 problem solve, and all of them are done on root cause problem solving. Now that I have solved the problems, How I have to go to JM, what is called as job methods. What is the different method that I am supposed to do so that I can get better results? Earlier, we were teaching them on how to do things so that the variations are minimized. Now, I'm going to ask them how they can do it different so that they can get better results. And based on this changed thing, it is not you create a new standard methodology. And in three, I have to sustain the improvements. How? Now I will build the standards for man, machine, material, methods, and I will visualize these things. I create standards, I visualize the standards, and then I create some controls, visual management. I try. And then I also create some leader standard work for team leader, for group leaders, for managers, and all those things. And most importantly, job relations. How a supervisor has to, the emotional quotient part of it, how the conflicts are minimized, how we are motivating the team. This JIJMJR is all about hand, head, and heart. Hand to do, head to think, and heart to deal with people. Once it is all done, now it's all about escalation matrix and help chain based on undance. Undance is nothing but an audio visual alarm, making everybody saying aware that there is a problem, please come and help me. And the help chain has got an escalation matrix, how to work towards it, and how can we achieve our goals by doing these initiatives. So when we go through this, and each sprint hardly takes around 8 to 9 months of time, and when we reach this stage, we would have built a culture of sustenance and improvement in the organizations. Then comes the leaders Kaizen. We saw it here. So these are the things. They are called as leaders now. Now, what is that we need to do? Improve the leadership routines. Why? The processes of management should be changed so that the culture building happens. Because leaders are always about to do managing the change. They are not working for today, they are working for 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line. So what they have to do? They have to see the change or anticipate the change that is happening in the market. Accordingly, they have to lead their team to adapt the change. Once the change is adapted, they have to bring the change into their control. They should not allow the change to take the control. And after controlling the change, they should now steer the change in the direction they want to achieve based on their strategy. So to do this, what is that? They should know what are the Kaizen values and principles, which we have seen, the 5 principles, and then they have to walk the talk. They have to lead by example. They have to coach and mentor. So they should know what is the goal, the strategy for the 5 years down the line, and all my initiatives, all my activities aligned to that, and problem solving by managing the teams, empowering the teams to do their work so that the managers can focus on future. That is what they today, these managers are doing the job of the value adders, and value adders are enjoying. That should change. So to manage change, what are the preparatory things? First is we will create some top management awareness of it. The force field analysis will be done. What are the restraining forces? What are the supportive forces within the organization as to adapt the Kaizen practices? How can we align the organizational goals, mission, vision to Kaizen's vision, mission, and values? Where can I go and see where the companies have adapted Kaizen and see, can I create one such beacon Gemba in my own factory? So all of these will be done prior to forming the team. Once it is done, now they have to learn to change or see the change. How is it? Just as we have got skill matrix for the workers, we need to have competency matrix for the leaders. A leader cannot coach if he cannot develop his own capabilities. As I said, we are all living in the world of exponential changes. So we have to keep on developing ourselves. So a leader has to create his own competency matrix and his own self-development action plan. And also the leader should be guiding his teams in breakthrough kaizens and daily kaizens. And what should they do? Using the business balance scorecard, they should now create their own strategy, business planning strategy for 3 years down the line, for every function, for every value stream. What are the four things? Financial perspective, customer perspective, process perspective, learning perspective. From these four perspectives, how my organization should be functioning in the next 5 years. From there, you find out the targets to improvement. From there, you find out the KPIs, which will be cascaded and brought into actions in breakthrough kaizens and in daily kaizens. Cascade all these balance scorecard initiatives. Measure the right things, don't chase wrong goals at the right frequency. We would have seen some dogs chasing the cars on the roads. Have you ever thought of sorry have you ever thought of whether the dog can catch the car? Even if it can catch the car, what most it can do? Nothing. The dog is chasing a meaningless goal. Like the dog, many of us are chasing meaningless goals. So let us chase the right measures at the right frequency. Hansei in Japanese means reflection. We have to reflect on the past. What went right? What went wrong? What is the lesson that we have learned? What is needs to be standardized? Where we have to improve? Do that. And then keep on reviewing your strategy. Kata means routines. Improvement kata. Make improvement as a routine. Make coaching as a routine. Coaching in the sense not spoon feeding. A teacher is not the one who makes people, who gives the glass of water. He is the one who makes them thirsty. Ask the right question, let them learn by themselves, but ensure that they don't get astray. Kamishibai means storytelling. Using some signal cards, make everything visual within the organization, and have a leader standard work for all the managers now. And then comes building your own excellence model. And use box scores, the finance thing. All the traditional financial accounting are no use. Try to use box scores which will help you in taking the right decisions in terms of investments, in terms of the profits that we are getting, which project to take, which one not to take. All this from the lean perspective, giving the box scores. The numbers are not getting changed. The entire numbers will remain the same, but the way that we calculate these numbers will get changed from the traditional accounting to lean accounting. So these are the steps that we do in leaders Kaizen. And then comes the governance. Governance is all about transformation process. These are the stages to make Kaizen more effective in the organization. It's all about a control mechanism, an audit system, you can say, or a training, reward and recognition, all these things. Most importantly, the benefit tracking. At the end of the day, return on investment is very, very important. What are the benefits that we have got? What is the maturity I have achieved from practicing Kaizen for all these days? So these are the four stages that we have seen. And again, there are 8 levels here: governance, standards, development skill, benefit tracking, communication, reward and recognition, knowledge management, and maturity assessment. So, level 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. In 0, we form a steering committee. SC stands for steering committee, and we have one guy responsible for Kaizen core. He is a facilitator, internal facilitator. Unfortunately, everybody thinks Kaizen means he only has to do it. It is not like that. He is a single window communication channel. He coordinates things, but Kaizen is everybody's responsibility. You create obeya room, or what we call it as a big room. Obeya means big room, where the entire organization's health is depicted in terms of graphs and visuals, and sensitize the entire team on why we need to do Kaizen, what are the practices that we need to do in Kaizen so that we get the right output on that. So these are the basic things, preparatory level things that we do in this. And when we start into this, all these are done. Steering committee meetings will be done once in 15 days or once in a month. Once in 15 days is better. And then this team will create the standards for 5S. When I say 5S standards mean, if we are creating some labels, what should be the width of the label, what should be the length of the label, what should be the font style, what should be the font size, where the logo should come, everything should be standardized. Where it, if there's a notice board, how long a notice can be on the notice board, who is responsible for it, if there is a DK board, who is responsible for it, who is going to update it, when will he update it. We need to create standards everywhere, and it has to be universal across the organization, every, whether it is a visual signal, it is a visual control or visual management or visual, everything needs to be standardized. Similarly, autonomous maintenance standard, safety standards, A3 standard. So standards will minimize the variation, and this team will come together and create a standard for the organization, be it color coding or be it anything. And then this is the team will also work on what are the competencies required for the leaders, go through the competency matrix, go through the development plan, and based on the development plan, organizing training programs internally or externally, developing train the trainers, all these things will be done. Skill development plan will be done. We also saw something called a skilling center. Skilling center also will be done by them. And they start benefit tracking from first sprint itself. Now again, all of these will continue here, but the new thing is communication. Make Kaizen popular across the organization. Have the posters, have the newsletters, have the gallery. Let everybody get involved into it, motivated to do Kaizens. Let all of them learn Kaizen. And then reward and recognition, non-monetary. In the sense, nothing for cash. Because what starts as a need-based becomes a greed-based thing. So give something, a mudra concept. When we say mudra concept, if you so many OPLs means so many mudras, if you accumulate 50 mudras, you will be sponsored for a training program. 100 mudras, you will have a dinner with the director, or you will have some sponsored training program, something like that, which can boost their self-esteem. Go for this. And then in maturing stage, again conduct meetings, all visualization, standards, leader standard work through Kamishi Bai's card, and then develop the team for certified Kaizen practitioner, and then develop internal trainers, develop internal auditors, and then have a Kaizen day within your organization, align all your initiatives to the goals, and then create your own Kaizen knowledge library, OPL library, case study library, so that you don't redo or reinvent the wheel. Let all of them go through what we have done, how the journey we came across, everything will be useful for us. And then let us all do our own maturity assessment by ourselves. And then you create your own system, announce a best supplier award, and then alignment, all those things. You apply yourself for this IMEX Excellence Award, competing with the world's best organization. As I was telling, every year, the best of the companies getting awarded throughout the world. There are very few out of the world. There are only 20, 30 companies get shortlisted, but you can always apply. Have once we reach this stage, the companies like Deming Award and all this IMAX Excellence is also another award which can always boost your company's image across all the continuous improvement initiative. If you don't enjoy what you do, then there's no fun in doing it. So enjoy whenever you do the Kaizen, and it is never an accident. Commitment, that is what is most important. Intelligent planning and focused effort. So with this, we come to the end of this session. And if you are not adequately confused, you can raise questions. and I'm stop sharing my screen now. Somebody has asked, I want to know about standard work. Yes, we will go through the standard work. There is a special session there. 2 hour session is there for standard work. So please do come there, because standard work is a separate subject by itself and it cannot be easily explained here. JIJMJR. Yes. See, TWI is a training within industry, is an initiative found in US but widely adopted by Japanese. Um, when during the Second World War, when they were having a shortage of workers in the ammunition factory, the wives of the workers were trained and they gave more production, more productivity. So they thought that training methodology was very good, so they adapted it all over the world, and it was became a big success. It's all about a four-step methodology in job instruction, job methods, and job relations. In job instruction, there's a four station. They prepare the worker, present the operation, observe the performance, and then follow up. These are the four steps, and it is not about telling and showing or demonstrating something beyond that. And it is a separate thing. As I said, it is a separate module by itself, and it requires a separate session in altogether. You can't learn that in 45-minute or a 15-minute lecture. We can come and help you out. This is job instruction. And the next is, after doing this, how to make people think and improve, how to make the get better jobs, the job methods, how people can think by themselves in improving it, how to motivate them to think differently without spoon feeding, only by asking questions, how to ask the right questions. So that will be explained in job methods. Job relations is all about being a servant leader, how to resolve the conflicts among the workers, how to motivate the worker to do more, do things, and all those things. So that is so. These three TWI, or training within industry, is a separate subject by itself, and we try to cover in each of the sprint. And when we are engaging with you in the sprints, we will explain you, we will teach you how to go about it. You can type your questions in your question and answer rather than in chat. Mention the three C's. Yes. 3C is, see, as I said, we are cascading the KPIs and we are monitoring it on a daily basis. And we say, this is my desired level or my target. I don't want to say target. Target means something burden. So I would say this is a desired thing. I am expecting so many pieces from you per day, and 100 pieces, and you have achieved 95. There's a gap of 5. The concern is, with available time, 5 pieces I could not make. What is the concern? There could be n number of causes. Machine stopped, I took longer time for drinking tea, or I took more pee breaks, or something like that. So write down the concerns, and from each of the concern, you find out a countermeasure, and then implement the countermeasure. Try to minimize the gap. So when we do this one, so concern, cause, countermeasure, all are starting with C. That's why we call it as a 3C. So when we do this on a daily basis or a shift basis, our problems are solved at a very small stage itself. We don't allow the problem to grow big, and so there's no bigger disappointments or bounces do come into it. That is what 3C is all about. DELO. DELO, as I said, it is day in the life of. Day in the life of your leaders, whatever I call it, day in the life of leaders. How much of the time I am really using for value adding activity? How much of the time I'm really wasting my time? Unannounced meeting, a phone call, somebody coming and talking, gossiping, these are we need to find out them, and we need to find a way to get rid of these things. So there is a template, we go through it and we walk through the leader for those 8.5 hours and identify where and all we can save time or organize ourselves according to the time, so that we can create these times for problem solving and meeting. That is what we call it as a DELO activity, or day in the life of. Anybody, day in the life of manager, day in the life of CEO, day in the life of value adder, worker, whatever you put, you fill the fill. Day in the life of. That's what this DELO is all about. Escalating matrix. Yes. So we do conduct this daily Kaizen meetings. We come across and then we try to solve a problem, but there are some problems which we are unable to solve it. We keep on doing it, but we are unable to. So that means our capabilities are not enough to solve the problem, or it requires separate attention. So we escalate this concern to the next tier. So you tell the team leader, saying, boss, we are unable to solve the problem. Please escalate this particular problem to the next tier and let them come together and form a cross-functional team so that we can get this problem resolved. So this is one type of an escalation. So across the tiers, we need to create such matrix. When to escalate, when the higher tier has to step in, how the procedure is, all those things we need to create an escalation matrix, and then it will be done with it. That is what we call it as an help chain. How the help chain goes across the tiers and how it is being handed over. It is both bottom up as well as top down approach. Are we together? So, any other questions? If there are no questions, so how do we? I am posting a link here. I'm posting a link here. Please click on the link and start filling those question answers. The proof of pudding is in its eating, and whatever that we went through for these 90 odd minutes, how much do you remember? Let us see this. Click the link, go and fill in the screen. So time for you to do this. Meanwhile, if somebody has got any other questions, they can always type it in the Q&A or in the chat box. And you can also click onto the poll and then you can do that also. And since we cannot see each of other, once you finish your this question answers, no, after linking, please mention that you have completed it. Nidhi-san? Uh, the link is pasted in the chat box. Can't you see? I'm because Ruth Ranjiku Kimani says she hasn't received the link. It is in the chat box in public. Please let me know. Oh, great. Karibu sana Kimani-san. Nagani. Team, once you finish this quiz thing, you have to also fill in the feedback link and the questionnaire. Uh, because if we do not receive it, the certificate will not be generated. It is an auto-generated certificate, and hence you have to fill in the feedback without fail. You have to fill in the questionnaire, the quiz. You have to fill in the feedback link also. So your feedback is important to us because we also have to keep on improving ourselves, and your constructive feedback is there. Is very very important to us so that we can deliver better in the days to come. Yes, the feedback form will be sent to you once the session is over, and then it will be an off-site thing. You have to fill it and then you have to send it across. So I'm not receiving much of a questions. Either you guys have understood thoroughly or something wrong. Oh, there are people from India also. Nidhi-san can answer this. We'll be sending through them the mail, the feedback link, Nidhi-san.
Once the session will over, you will get it through the mail.
Yeah, okay. The feedback link will be sent to you through mail. Okay, fine, good. Any more questions? Anybody else? This is the time that we can ask as many questions as possible. Nidhi-san, can I sign off if there are no questions?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
So
Obrigado.
five more minutes, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Obrigado. Asanteni. Dhanyavad. Thank you all for patiently hearing me. Please do not forget to fill in the feedback link and also this one. See you if time permits.
Okay, so one more minute to go, and then the quiz time will be over. Thank you all for attending this session. I'm just ending the session and you will get the feedback form. Please fill that form because as Gopalson told you, we have that inbuilt thing that one who will fill the form, they can only eligible to get the certificate. Don't miss it. Thank you. Thank you so much.